Hey, it's Rod V again, and I'm going to start my next project. It was supposed to be a guitar, but my neighbor was moving and he had this table. My daughter saw it and says, "Oh, Dad, I want this in my bedroom." Okay, so I got this table here that I'm going to rebuild the top. I'm going to put a new top on it, and it shouldn't take that long, so stick around and let's see what happens. Okay, so I went and bought some 2x6x8 spruce wood, and I'm going to cut these up. I need 6 pieces 48 inches long, and then I'm going to run them through my planer joiner and join them together. So I want to cut these up right now. Okay, so I got those cut up. Well, I was initially going to rip this board and rip this much off of it to make it fit exactly to the table, but I'm not going to do that. It's not that much wider, and it'll give a little bit more space on the table. So let's move into the shop and we'll run this stuff through the planer, plane both sides, and go from there. So before you plane or join anything, you want to check and make sure there's no metal in it. Like the staples right here from the hardware store where they staple the plastic to it. Make sure you pull all those out. Okay, I'm going to run this through both sides, and then I'm going to do the rest off camera, and then we'll get to doing the joiner side. Okay, I only planed one side because this is going to be the bottom. I picked the best side of the two. So this is going to be the top. So let me set up the joiner, and we'll run it through that. Okay, I got my planer set up, and I got this a couple weeks ago. Actually, the same time I got my planer, and I've been anxious to use it. So I'm going to run this one through, and then I'm going to do the rest off camera. But that edge looks nice, but I'm going to keep going because I want to get this rounded edge off. I want it square. All right, I got it all squared up. I got the rounded edges off, and we're good to go. So I'm going to do the rest off camera, and then we'll come back and glue them together. All right, I got all my wood planed, joined, and now we're going to glue them together, and then tomorrow I can come back and we can actually start making the table. So I want to stick this one on my clamps right here. I'm going to take my next one, and I'm going to put my wood glue on it. There's no and the good side is this side. And I'm putting the good side down on the pipe, so if they're not quite even thickness wise, they'll be even on the top, because I'm really not worried about the bottom. That's good because I'm going to have to cut it anyway, and we'll squeeze them down. I want to take this one and put it across the top. Okay, I got all my clamps on. Had a little bit of an issue tightening them down because it's so wide. It wanted to do this on it, but I got them straightened out, so I'll let this sit overnight, and tomorrow we'll come back, take the clamps off, flip it over, see what it looks like, and then square off the edges and keep going. All right, it's the next day. I'm going to take the clamps off and see how she turned out. All right, let's flip her over, see what the other side looks like. Oh, that looks good. Okay, now what I got to do I don't know if you can see, I got a couple pieces that are too long, so I'm going to take and I'm going to cut those down, square them off, and cut them off. Or I'm going to take my square, I'm going to square it up with the ends, with the shorter pieces. And I'm going to cut that off. Okay, I got that done. All the edges are good. A couple spots, but I'm going to sand that out. I'm going to take my 1/4 inch roundover bit and I'm going to go around these three sides, spin my table around, because I got a small shop, and get that done, and then sand the top of it, and we can put stain on it. Alright, that looks good. Now let me fix up my sander, and I'm going to sand it down first with some 220 grit, then go up to 300, 400. Once I get to 400, I'm going to stain it. So let me fix up my sander, and I'll be right back. Alright, let's get to sanding just a little bit. Okay, I got it all sanded down. I went to a 400 grit, but I had to go and get an 80 grit paper to sand it to get some divots out. But I went from 80 to 240, 320, and 400. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe it down with denatured alcohol, because the denatured alcohol will evaporate real fast. It won't stay in the wood. And what I'm using is an oil-based wood stain. This is what my daughter picked out. This is what she wanted. But I'm going to put a water-based polyurethane on it. So the way you're going to do that is I'm going to stain this today, and it's got to sit for about 24 hours or longer. This oil-based stain has got to be dry, completely dry. Now if I was using a oil-based polyurethane, then I could wait the recommended hour, is what it says the dry time is, and then put the coat on it. But since I'm using a water-based, I need to let it dry for 24 hours. So I'm going to wipe it down with some denatured alcohol and then brush the stain on it. I'm just trying to get the dust or any oil from my fingers off of it. It doesn't take but just about 60 seconds for the alcohol to evaporate, and you could probably see it evaporating on camera. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and brush the stain on. Alright, now I'm going to wipe off the excess. I think I'm going to go ahead and put one more coat on it and try to get it just a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to let that sit on there a little longer this time, and then wipe it off. Okay, I let this coat sit on a little longer. Let's wipe it off and see what we got. All right. I'm going to let that dry till tomorrow, and 24 hours to let that oil-based stain dry, and then I'm going to spray it with the water-based polyurethane. So we'll let it dry till tomorrow and come back and see if we can't finish it up. Okay, so it's been just over 24 hours. Now I'm going to stir up my waterborne polyurethane. I'm going to stir it up real good, and I'm going to strain it. And I really don't want to thin it out. I'm going to try to run it through my HVLP touch-up gun and see if it'll spray. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to thin it out with a little bit of water. So let me stir this up. Okay, you always want to strain it regardless, in case you got any trash on your stir sticks. I'm going to strain it through just a regular paint strainer. Okay, I'm going to pour it in my gun. Now I've got my gun set from when I sprayed some lacquer on the guitar I just built. So I'm going to try to spray it how it's set now, but I'm more than likely going to have to open the needle up all the way and turn up the air pressure a little bit because it's a little thicker. So I am going to open this up a little bit, my needle. And right now it's at about 20 psi, and I'm going to turn that up to about 30. That's much better. It blows out real good. So let me prep the wood, and then we'll get to painting it. I had to turn my table sideways because my shop is so small. I had to be able to get around it. I want to take a regular tack cloth like you would use on automotive, and I'm just going to wipe it down to make sure I get all the dust and stuff off of it. Now I'm going to put the first coat on it, and I'm going to get the edges first. Well, I'm going to let that dry for a while. I think it takes a couple hours. Then I'm going to put another coat. And I think I'm going to put about 3 or 4 coats on it. It's probably not needed, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay, it's been about an hour since I've sprayed it. And I got a little bit of the wood curling up. I expected that. So I'm going to go over it with lightly with 1,000 grit sandpaper to smooth it back down. Then I'm going to put a second coat on it. Coat number 2. All right, that's the third coat. I'm going to let this dry overnight because it's late in the day. And I'm going to put the fourth and final coat on it tomorrow. And then when all that dries, I'm going to go over it with about 1,000 or 1,500 grit sandpaper real lightly. Then I'm going to buff it out and put the base on it. Okay, so it's the next day and my third coat is dry. I'm going to go ahead and spray it with the last coat of the polyurethane. You saw me go from left to right and down, and then I went diagonal, and I did that to make sure I got a good even coat everywhere. I'm going to let this dry overnight. Okay, so I got a little dust in it from this shop because my shop is dusty, but it's not bad. So what I got is I've got a sanding block and some 2,000 grit sandpaper. All right, I hit it with a polisher and we'll be good to go. Well, I just got my polisher in. Just came in, and what I'm using is I'm just using regular ultra fine finishing polish, just like you would on a car. I just squirted a bunch on the table, and I'm just going to buff it out and make it really smooth. Then I'm going to go put it together. I'm going to rub it around first, get it all over. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I measured the base of the table and I marked out where it's going to go in the center. And I went and got some 1x4s and I'm going to put them on the back side. Okay, I got the two sides cut, and we're going to screw those on there, and then I'm going to bolt the or fit the base on it. Okay, now I got those on, and I'm going to go get the base, set it up here, and mark for the holes for the bolts to hold the base on. Okay, I got the base on it, and what I'm going to use the insert nuts. These are 1/4-20 insert nuts that I'm going to put in the table so I can put 1/4-20 bolts instead of wood screws in. That way we can take it apart if we need to move it. But I need to mark the center, so I've got the table squared up on my frame that I put on there. And I'm going to take this drill bit that's got the little tip on it. It fits right down inside this hole. And I'm going to mark each one. Okay, now I got them marked. I'm going to slide this forward a little bit. Take and I'm going to drill my hole. I'm going to take my wood insert. Flatten it out in there. Okay, all the screws line up, all the holes go in, got the base on. I'm not going to bolt it down yet. I'm going to take this back off, I'm going to stain the edges. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this tabletop build. I enjoyed it. I had fun doing it. It looks good in my daughter's room. She really likes it. So now I can go on to the next guitar build. And what I'm going to be building is a modern style guitar. So if you want to see that, hit like, subscribe, come on back, check it out. And I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a good day. See you.